Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we're going to be diving deep into the world of television criticism.
Oh.
And we're going to do it by looking at an interview with Billy Bob Thornton.
All right.
Now he's got a Golden Globe nomination for this new show called Landman.
Okay.
You might have heard of it.
Yeah.
It's from Taylor Sheridan, who you definitely have heard of because he also created Yellowstone.
Right.
So if you're into entertainment or TV or celebrity news, you are going to love this deep dive because we are going to be talking all about it. Now, specifically, we're going to be looking at this kind of juicy little tidbit from the interview.
Okay.
Where Billy Bob Thornton is defending his co-star, Ali Larter's performance. Because critics have been kind of harsh, saying that she's a little too cartoonish in her role.
Oh, interesting.
So we're going to unpack all that. We're going to look at Taylor Sheridan's relationship with critics, which has been a little rocky sometimes.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap it all up by talking about all the drama surrounding the finale of Yellowstone.
Okay, sounds good.
So let's jump right in. So the critics have not been kind to Ali Larter, and they've been using this word cartoonish to describe her performance.
Interesting.
And this is in the show Landman, which is like a spin-off of Yellowstone.
Okay.
And she's playing Billy Bob Thornton's ex-wife.
Right.
So I was reading this interview, and I was just completely fascinated by how Thornton defended her.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but
yeah.
he basically said, you know, I grew up in Arkansas and Texas, and women like Ali Larter's character in Landman definitely exist.
Oh, okay.
He actually said, and this is a direct quote, they look like models, and they're just like elbows and eyebrows every minute.
Wow.
So what do you think he's trying to say there?
Well, I think it's pretty interesting that he's using his personal background to, like, you know, defend her performance. He's almost saying that it's not, you know, just about her acting choices, but it's about portraying a certain kind of woman who you would find in, like, the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yeah, exactly.
But it does sort of raise the question of, you know, is he just reflecting reality?
Yeah.
Or is there some danger of, you know, reinforcing stereotypes, especially about, like, women's appearances?
Totally. And it does make you think about how much location and these regional stereotypes that we have influence how characters get portrayed.
Absolutely. And it's a really fine line between portraying like regional nuances and, like you were saying, and making it like a really rich and deep character. But then you have to make sure you're not, you know, accidentally turning it into a caricature. And I think that's kind of where this criticism comes from.
I see that.
Because his description of these women, while I think it's meant to be funny, it's very focused on physical features.
Yeah, like the elbows and the eyebrows. They're so specific.
Right, and that could be seen as, you know, reducing these women to just their looks and not really showing their complexity. So that will be really interesting to see if the show actually digs deeper into their personalities and not just like how they look.
Absolutely. So another interesting thing that Thornton said in this interview was about Taylor Sheridan.
Okay.
And how he said that Sheridan has had a hard way to go with the critics over the years.
Interesting.
And I think we all know that Sheridan's style can be a little polarizing.
For sure.
But then Thornton said that Landman is actually getting some of Sheridan's best reviews yet.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was kind of surprising.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So what do you make of that?
Well, I think it's important to remember that Sheridan is considered like an auteur.
Right.
Which means he's got like a really distinct style and vision, and he's not afraid to challenge traditional ways of telling stories.
Totally.
You know, and that's something you see with other really famous directors.
Like who?
Like Quentin Tarantino or David Lynch.
Yeah, those are good examples.
Their work can be really bold. And they definitely divide audiences and critics.
For sure.
So I wonder if maybe the positive reception for Landman could be a sign that critics are coming around to his style a little bit more.
Yeah, you think there's possible?
Yeah.
Starting to appreciate it?
Or maybe Landman just really hits the mark for them in a way that his other shows haven't.
Yeah.
You know, to really understand it. I think we would have to dive deeper into the actual criticisms that his other shows got and then compare that to, you know, what people are praising about Landman.
Gotcha. I think that's a great point. And speaking of strong personalities clashing, we can't wrap up this conversation without talking about all the drama surrounding
Yellowstone.
Right, the original show.
Which, as we said, is also created by Taylor Sheridan. And specifically how it all ended, which was pretty controversial, especially with Kevin Costner leaving the show.
It was a very public exit. It was so public. And it really showed, I don't know, what happens behind the scenes in these big TV productions. I mean, they killed off Costner's character. And he seemed genuinely surprised when the episode aired.
I remember reading that.
It was crazy. He basically said, I didn't even realize that yesterday was the episode where my character dies.
So there must have been some kind of, like, communication breakdown there and maybe some creative differences.
Big time.
You know, and these kinds of conflicts are pretty common, especially when you've got actors who have a lot of creative control.
Yeah, and Costner definitely had that. So killing off a main character like that, it's a really bold move.
Yeah.
And it definitely got people talking.
For sure.
So let's just recap everything we've talked about today.
Okay.
We've got Thornton defending Ali Larter's performance. And we talked about how that brings up these questions about regional representation and stereotypes. Then we looked at Taylor Sheridan's really unique style and how the critics have responded to him. And we even touched on the behind-the-scenes drama of Yellowstone and Kevin Costner's exit.
Right.
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
I know.
Right. It really shows how all of these things are kind of intertwined.
Totally.
It makes you think about how much influence actors have, how much the critics matter, and how these regional influences all shape the TV that we watch.
So that's our final thought for you today. Does an actor defending their co-star make you look at the show differently? Or does the critic's opinion still hold the most weight? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So go check out Landman, go watch Yellowstone, read some reviews of Taylor Sheridan's other work, and see what you think. Maybe those cartoonish characters are actually pretty compelling. Let us know. And thanks for joining us for another Deep Dive. See you next time.